And welcome to Hannity. All right, we begin with news just breaking right now at this minute, and we start with a Fox News alert. Now, according to a breaking new report from Politico, the U.S. Supreme Court has, in fact, voted to overturn Roe versus Wade. If this report turns out to be true, abortion will now be regulated at the state level, meaning it is not going to be illegal probably in most states in the United States. There'll be varying restrictions. One of the biggest issues involving this case has to do with whether or not Roe v. Wade, and this is what conservatives have often believed, constitutionalists have believed, originalists have believed, is that it enumerated a right that did not exist within the Constitution. What's interesting about this is the draft opinion, unflinching repudiation of the 73 decision guaranteeing a federal constitutional protection on abortion rights, as they report in Politico. Planned Parenthood versus Casey that largely maintained that right. If this report is true, Justice Alito writes, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, and we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, he writes in the document labeled, quote, opinion of the court. It is time to heed the Constitution, return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. That's where the issue of judicial philosophy comes into play. Do you enumerate a right not specifically spelled out in the Constitution, or should it be up to the states, which is what conservatives have always argued? Deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been fluid. Justices can and sometimes do change their votes and opinions as their opinions are circulated among the different Supreme Court justices. Major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts, vote trading, sometimes until just days before the decision is unveiled. But the real heart of Alito's words, if in fact this remains the final decision, would be Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division in this country. If we look at what they're reporting, a person familiar with the deliberations, according to Politico, said that 4 other Republican-appointed justices, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, voted with Alito in the conference and held among the justices after hearing oral arguments. This is back in December. We don't expect the final decision until sometime in June, maybe July even, usually in May or June. But the 3 Democratic-appointed justices, Breyer, Sotomayor, Kagan, are working on 1 or more dissents that would be part of any final decision that comes out. But it's going to be interesting to watch. This will absolutely be demagogued by the left in the country. But at the end of the day, the document labeled as a first draft of the majority opinion, it would indicate they may be leaning as of tonight to overruling Roe v. Wade. That is considered a precedent. The inescapable conclusion is the right to an abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history or traditions. The Constitution does not prohibit the citizens of each state from regulating or prohibiting abortion, the draft concludes. In other words, abortion will not be made illegal by the federal government. It will be up to the states to decide. Roe and Casey abrogated that authority. We now overrule these decisions and return that authority to the people and their elected representatives. We'll have a lot more on this breaking news straight ahead tonight. But this is pretty interesting. Now, just to be very clear here, even though this is a draft, sounds like the likelihood that's where their decision is headed towards. So we'll watch this very closely. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.